This is Standing Watch. And now, Evangelist Norbert Link.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to our Standing Watch program. Pope Francis is again in hot water. He recently made some comments about somebody building a wall couldn't be a Christian, which was kind of ironic because the popes have been sitting in Vatican City for a long time, which is surrounded by big walls. And of course, it was also pointed out rightly so in the press that it was actually God who told the Jews to build the wall when they came out of Babylonian captivity. But now Pope Francis made some further controversial statements, and I'd like to focus on those, amongst other things, in this program to show you that when it comes to morals, when it comes to standards, when it comes to right and wrong, there doesn't seem to be any strong conviction anymore in the civilized Western world. What am I talking about? Newsmax wrote on February 27, Italian pro-life leaders are speaking out against Pope Francis' praise of former Italian Foreign Minister Emma Bonino as one of the nation's forgotten greats, complaining that she is best known in the nation for her stance on legalizing abortion. In an interview with the Italian daily Corriere della Sera, the Pope acknowledged that his praise could be considered controversial. However, she offered the best advice to Italy on Africa, said the Pontiff, and commented that it is people who think very differently from us. We have to look at people as to what they do. But Bonino, a leader of a radical party and former European Commissioner, is well known for having an abortion at the age of 27, and then working with the Information Center on Sterilization and Abortion, which was responsible for 10,000 abortions. There are photos of her performing abortions during a homemade device being operated by a bicycle pump. So the question is, how can somebody give praise and glory and honor to a person who is engaged in activities which are clearly against what God tells us in His Word, the Bible? Now, in this program, I like to also focus a little bit on what's going on in Britain. But what is going on in Britain is not all that much different from what is going on in the United States. This article was published by News with Views from February 20. It shows how our children, in this case school children in Britain, but I would like to add our children, no matter in what country in the Western world you are living, are being manipulated by the teachers, by the system. This article says, British school children are being heavily targeted and used to reform society. This was illustrated in a recent survey carried out by the Office of the Children's Commissioner for England, who recently distributed a questionnaire to school children. The questionnaire asked the children aged from 13 to 18 to choose from over 20 gender options on how it best described their gender, to include tomboy, transboy, gender fluid, agender, androgynous, bigender, non-binary, gender queer, gender non-conforming, trigender, in the middle of boy and girl, intersex. The article goes on to say, you can only imagine the type of identity crisis and confusion you would experience when you just 13 years old in relation to the suggestion that you should fall into any one of those categories. In an article from The Telegraph, it read that the head teacher from one of the schools said, we want all our young people to feel comfortable with who they are, to understand that the notion of gender can go beyond the traditional idea of simply being either male and female, and to recognize that people can use a range of terms to describe their gender identity. What an absolute nonsense. In California, a law was passed not too long ago allowing a boy to decide that he is really a girl. And so he is allowed to go to locker rooms and showers with girls. What a nonsense. What a nonsense. To me, those teachers who are mentioned here and the whole department who is behind it, they all should be fired. Let's get rid of them. You see, unfortunately, in our quote-unquote tolerant society, we have to be so tolerant, we accept this nonsense, and we don't realize what damage it does to our children. That's why parents have a tremendous responsibility to make sure that they can counteract the stupidity which our children are taught in school. But if that isn't enough, I want to give you another example, which the Daily Mail reported on February 14. Now that is totally blasphemous, but I want you to listen to it first. A play that portrays Jesus as a transgender woman who refers to God as mom is to be performed in where? An obscure little theater someplace, a little bar for homosexuals perhaps? No. In a Church of England church. To the fury of critics, at least there are critics who are furious, who say the play is deeply offensive, notice this. The Bishop of Manchester, David Walker, will not block the staging of the Gospel according to Jesus, Queen of Heaven. That's how that play is called. The one-woman play by Jo Clifford, an award-winning Scottish playwright who has herself changed gender, imagines Jesus returning to earth as a trans woman and retelling the parables with a transsexual slant. That is blasphemous. That should never be allowed to be played anywhere, let alone in a church building. I mean, this is absolutely asinine and mind-boggling. But that's how far we have gotten in our society, our so-called tolerant society, where everything goes, where Christian faith and Christian belief and Christian value is being persecuted on a constant basis so that those absolute abominable things can happen. Where is the outcry? God says that he looks at those who are sighing and crying about the abominations which are happening in our societies. In order to give you a better view as to what we should be really focusing on and how God looks at these terrible things, I'd like to offer you 3 free booklets today where we have addressed some of those issues. The one is The Key to Happy Marriages and Families, which tells you what happy marriages and families are all about. And not that kind of nonsense our kids hear in school. The other one, very important, is titled Old Testament Laws Still Valid Today. Many say, oh, well, all these scriptures talking about gender identities and homosexuality and transvestism and all of that, that's just Old Testament. Well, first of all, it's not, because the Bible also talks very strongly about it in the New Testament. But even if it is it therefore no longer valid? See, this booklet talks about the fact that many Old Testament laws and statutes and judgments are still valid today, and it gives you the proof as to why that is. And then thirdly, we have a brand new booklet, Do You Know the Jesus of the Bible? Do you know the Jesus of the Bible? Who was Jesus when he was here on earth? The focus of this booklet is about when he was living here on earth. How did he live? What standards did he have? What morals did he have? If you are a true Christian or want to be one, you are to follow Jesus Christ. You have to follow what he told you, how he lived, what he stands for, not what a civilization stands for, which is totally gone away from God and the Jesus of the Bible. So please do yourself a favor and ask for those 3 booklets. They're absolutely free of charge. Just give us your address and we'll be happy to send those booklets to you. Thank you very much for listening. This is Norbert Link for the Standing Watch program.
Standing Watch is a presentation by The Church of the Eternal God, P.O. Box 270519, San Diego, California 92198. More information is also available at our website, eternalgod.org.